The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, this is Jay at Shopworks, and first of all, thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule to attend our webinar today. Our webinar is on better order management, and my name's Jay Malenga. I'm the owner of Shopworks, and I also work here on a daily basis. Okay, so the first thing before we get started, a couple things about our webinars. Number one is you can hear me, but I cannot hear you. If you have questions throughout the webinar, I'd ask that you go ahead and type them into the little question pane or question area that's part of GoToWebinar. I will reserve time at the end of the webinar and I'll answer all your questions, time permitting, and depending on how many questions we have, but typically I answer all of them. So if you have a question, type in throughout the webinar and I'll answer them at the end. Also, this webinar is being recorded and we will post it on our YouTube channel. So afterwards, if you'd like to review it, share it with an employee, send it to a colleague, it will be on our YouTube channel by tomorrow. All right, let's get started. So better order management is our subject for today. And the first thing I want to look at or talk about is the typical shop. And this is you guys. So the typical shop that we see come to our company and is having struggles with running their business is in the typical scenario. Number one is they're using three-part forms to take orders. Sometimes they're using spreadsheets, sometimes they're using something else, but typically it's a three-part form. The problem with this is communication between departments is slow and it's paper-driven. Another problem with that is what happens if something changes on the order. You have to retrieve the paperwork, edit it, and redistribute it. Also in the typical shop, production schedules are maintained as a separate system. Now, again, that system might be a spreadsheet, it could be a software package, but in very many cases, it's a magnet board, or it's some sort of board with paper on it, or it's a separate spreadsheet. So that has to be maintained separately, and that's typically done by a production manager. The other thing we see in the typical shop is that shipping information, when you're ready to ship a package, that's entered manually. So the person takes the piece of paperwork, they go over to the UPS center, and they enter that information manually into UPS, FedEx, or whatever shipping program you're using. For invoicing and accounting, same thing. That piece of paper then goes from shipping to accounting. The accounting person is then entering information into QuickBooks or going into QuickBooks and they're invoicing the order. So what is the end result of all this that we see very commonly? Well, number one is you and your employees are having to enter data manually into multiple systems. That increases workload. That's problem number one. It also leads to more errors. Making changes to orders is difficult because it's paper driven. So if a customer calls and makes a change to an order, which is a very frequent scenario, then you're going to have to retrieve that paperwork, change it, and then redistribute it to people. Higher chance for errors, I mentioned that because of all this data entry. It's also difficult for owners of the business and managers to know what's going on. So if you want to show me all my orders in progress, what's the status of those? Typically that's difficult to get, or it takes more work to get it. There's other scenarios too, but that's just one example. If customers call you, it's sometimes difficult to get answers to that customer, or it takes time. So let's just say, for example, a customer calls you, that customer wants to know the status of their order. In this environment, you're typically having to get it from your desk, go talk to a couple people, or say you'll call the customer back. So difficult, time consuming. And the bottom line for your business of all of this is you have a higher cost to process orders. It's going to be difficult to grow your business. And what I mean by that is when you get to a certain dollar volume or order volume, I should say, it's just very difficult to process the number of orders to grow your business because it's so manual, it's so labor intensive. And you have frustrated employees. As you grow, you'll have frustrated employees, customers, and most importantly, you, the business owner. You get frustrated as well in that scenario. Okay, so let's flip over to, we're going to come back to our slides here later, but let's flip over to our software. This is the OnSite system. I've already logged into the system. And the first thing I want you to notice when you log in is that it tells you you're logged in. So it tells you who the user is. We'll get back to this messages here in a second or a little bit later. But the first thing I want you to notice is across the top, you have your main navigation in our system. And this is important because it's showing you that OnSite basically runs your entire business. You have a sales department, you have a purchasing department, you have a receiving department, and within those departments you have submenus. So for example, under sales, I have orders, quotes, and EDP. And all of this, it's important to know, is access controlled. I'm logged as an administrator. I can see everything. Later on in this presentation, I'll show you how it looks for when a salesperson logs in, when you have it set up for them in a certain way. But you control on a user by user level for each user what parts of the software you want them to be able to utilize and what parts you don't. So on our demonstration today, I'm going to kind of give you it's going to be a pretty short presentation, but I want to really emphasize for you and show you the integration benefits of OnSite. So first of all, let's look at orders in progress. So quickly, I click on View All Orders in Progress, and instantly I can see all the orders that my company is currently working on. And I can see who the customer is, what the design is that's associated with that order, when the dates are that it's due, and the order type. Order type is an important concept in our system because it tells you if the order is screen printed, embroidered, promotional products, etc. Now you can actually combine different types of embellishment onto a single order if you'd like to. That's an option as well. Most customers have multiple order types. And you can customize those order types however you want. They're not hardwired into the system. Another important function is I want to be able to see the status of these orders. So if I click on Status Primary, you'll see here I instantaneously get a view of what's going on with each order in the system. So I can see if the design's done, if the purchasing's done, if the receiving's done, if the production's done, shipping, invoicing, paid, etc. And the beauty of this is that this system is real time. So as other users in your company are using the system, they would see these indicators change. Your screen would flash and this would be updated. So say, for example, on this particular order, the receiving was done, I would see receiving go from no to partial or no to yes. So it's all real time. Let's go down here to the bottom of our order list. And if I want specifics on an order, let's say I want to see the specifics on this Special Olympics order, I click on it, and that's going to drill down to our order detail. Once we're in order detail, we can see all the specifics that are related to an order. So I can see customer information. And just so you know, this is modeled very similar to what you'd see on a order form or something like that. So it's a very logical flow. Customer information is on one tab. Design information is the next tab that's showing me how we're producing this order. It's a full front. It's got multiple colors, but I'm the salesperson. I enter this order. We're not sure yet. I know it's 6 colors. I don't know what the colors are. Once the artist does the design, the artist would upload a thumbnail, and I would see a thumbnail image of what the design looks like. If I go to line items, this is basically a representation of the invoice the customer would see, but it's also used for instructions for your staff. So I can see here I have a Hanes Beefy Tea t-shirt. I have screen charges, and then I discounted those screen and art charges. I gave it to them for free. And so I back that out, but I want to show the customer that I'm giving them something for free. You, of course, can build your invoices however you want. And then I say we're delivering via truck and we're not charging for it. So again, this is just a simple example. If I go to shipping, I can see this is where the order is shipping to. You can specify your different shipping methods. For example, if it was a pickup, you would just put that in pickup as opposed to being actually shipped out. Our system is integrated with all the major shipping companies, so FedEx, UPS, United States Postal Service. OnSite integrates with those software packages. And you can have multiple shipping addresses. So for example, if I was shipping part of this order to one address and part of this order to another address, I would be able to specify that here. An important section is the notes area. And in this notes area is where I put notes to other departments. And these notes are going to appear on forms. If you want to print out forms out of OnSite, you could do that. And these notes will print out to the specific departments, or it will pop up on their computer screens. So for example, if I were to put, say, for example, notes to purchasing, I'm just going to stamp it with my date and name and make sure we only use Hanes products. So this is just a note to basically to our purchasing department that they're not allowed to make substitutions. That's what we're telling them here. You can make these notes whatever you like. We have analysis. We also have payments on the order. Now, remember, our system, the OnSite system, is a full-blown accounting system. So in addition to your order processing, purchasing, and all those other functions, there's accounting built in. The nice part about that is that everything shows in the system. So for example, if I wanted to receive a payment on this order, let's say this customer, we required a deposit, and they gave us a $10,000 deposit. I can just say add a payment, and you can see here, you can select credit card, cash, or check. If it's credit card, you can actually process the credit card through the OnSite system. I'm going to go ahead and do a check, and it was a check for $10,000, and I'd put the check number in here, and I would process that. And there we go. Now, you have access controls, remember, over who can see and who can do these functions. So, for example, you might have many salespeople where they're not allowed to receive payments. Their process would be they would actually physically take the check, give it to your accounting department, and your accounting department would do that. So that's up to you on how you set up the system. Other companies, other customers of ours, they'd like to have the salespeople receive the check, apply it to the order in the system, and then give it to accounting. So you have that option as well. We can attach things to the order. Now, these are going to be computer files. They could be anything. It could be a scanned document. It could be a piece of artwork the customer emailed to you. Anything you want, you can add as an attachment in the system. Proof Stuff is our service that we use for getting the customers to sign off on the approval. Proof Stuff sends them an email, and then the email is not a file attachment. It's actually a website. The customer would go to that website, then you'd be able to track when they signed off on it, etc. We have lots of videos, and we've done other webinars just on Proof Stuff, so I'm not going to cover that in detail here. And then lastly, on a sales order, you have forms. We have many more forms than this in our system, but you can say which forms are available by order type. So custom screen printing only has certain forms available for them. And you can see here you can actually create groups of forms too. So for example, I have a new order form group, and I'll select that, and that's going to be 1, 2, well, we don't want the invoice, it's not part of it. 1, 2, 3, 4 forms. So we're going to print out those forms, and those forms are going to, go to people internally. Now keep in mind, with OnSite, you don't have to use forms. In fact, many of our customers use the system with 0 forms. So they're actually not printing any paperwork at all. There's touchscreen interfaces in their production department or monitors in their production department. They have a monitor in their shipping and receiving department, and they just do everything online. So you can eliminate most, if not all, of your paperwork if you like. Most customers, when they first implement our system, they still use forms, and then they kind of wean themselves off forms as they implement the system. But that's completely up to you how you want to do that. So now that we have an order in the system, and I've given you an overview of what's on an order, there's a lot of information there. The next thing I wanted to show you that I think is the most important part of our system is the integration of our system. Now, what does that mean? Everybody uses the word integration a lot. Integration can mean 2 software packages talking to each other. It can mean a lot of things. With our system, what it means is that when I enter an order in the system, that order automatically is distributed with all the notes, with all the details, to all the other departments in the system. So if you remember from our slide, when we talked about before, when you're doing 3-part forms, that's a lot of manual handing out the forms. If there's a change, you have to manually change it. In our system, it's all real time. So for example, if I'm a purchasing agent and I go over to my purchasing department and I say all not purchased, you can think of this as a queue for purchasing. I can see I have 29 orders to purchase. And if I look down at the bottom there, I'll see there's the DC Special Olympics. And I can see if it's been purchased yet, or there's also subcontract purchasing. So for example, if we're not doing the production, we can sub it out. We have that option as well. If I need to see the details in that order, I just click on it, and notice that note that I just entered in order entry popped up. Make sure we only use Hanes products. Okay, no problem. I know there's no substitutions allowed there. It is Hanes, and I would go ahead with my purchasing process. Same thing if I go to my receiving department. Receiving by order, all not received. I'm now in my receiving dock. I've got a box that just came in. It's a certain PO number. I would see that on the paperwork, and I'd be able to go to my system and notice the PO number, our order number, is referenced in the system. This is actually the customer PO number. I'm in the wrong section. It's by purchase order, all not received. These are all open purchase orders. So these are purchase orders that have not been received yet or partially received. And so basically these are things that I'm expecting a shipment on. If I go over to production, there's different ways to look at production. I can look at it by a list view. For example, if I click on all not produced, that's that kind of queue we talked about. So this is kind of a report view, if you will. I also have the option of going to my calendar. So if I go down here to the bottom, you'll see these different tools down here at the bottom. I have a calendar tool. If I click on that calendar tool, it's going to bring up my calendar. I have different types of calendars in the system. Right now, I'm looking at the production calendar, and I can see that on this particular week, all the different jobs I have. It tells me if they're screen printing, embroidery, or what kind of embellishment type. If I go to machine, I can see what machine they're scheduled for. I can look by design. I can also look by customer. I can also filter it. So for example, if I just wanted to see the screen printing or embroidery, it would show me just those. I can also do it by machine. So if I wanted to see everything that's scheduled on a particular machine, I'd be able to see that as well. And of course, you would set all these things up in your system, and so all this is customizable. The embellishment types are customizable, the machines are customizable, everything is customizable in the system with regards to this production. Now, if I want to see more detail, we're going to drill down. I can drill down to a weekly view, and now I see what jobs are on each day of the week, and I can see the amount of hours that I have and a piece count for those particular days. If I want to drill down even further, I can drill down further. And it'll give us a daily view. And notice I have a little calendar over here. I can navigate throughout there to see my flipping back and forth between my different days. You have a lot of different tools here. Again, my goal is not to go through, show you every single part of the system today. I want to show you the integration. If I'm, let's say I need more details on this job, I click down one more time. Again, those notes pop up. If there's notes, they pop up to me. But now I'm actually on the production order, and these are all the different production events that have to be done to get this order done. If I go to work order, I can see the quantity. If I click on design, I can see the design details for this job. So again, you have a lot of information at your fingertips. It's very easy for the person to get to the information they need. If I want to go back to my calendar, I don't have to click back done, 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 done. All I do is go back to my calendar view, and I'm right back where I started. Shipping, similar scenario. I have orders, and I can say all not shipped, and this is going to show me every order in the system that needs to be shipped out. Now, this is not showing me if they're done or not, so notice some of these are not completed. The production is not done yet. Production and shipping is not done yet. Production in particular. So those I would not want to ship out. However, I can, if I go back to all not shipped, I can sort by production, and I can see here's one that's done, so that's one that I really do want to ship out, and I would go ahead and ship it. Invoicing, and these first 5 areas are basically order entry and order processing. So invoicing, when I'm ready to invoice, I can view all orders to invoice. That brings up all orders in my system that have not been invoiced. I can go to status. I can see which one of these are completed. I could also make a stored find for that, so I wouldn't have to look through here. On my main menu, I'd just have a stored find called screen print ready. That means these are invoices ready to go. The screen printing's been done. I don't have any of those in my system right now. And to invoice an order, very different than QuickBooks. You're not having to re-enter that information. So again, I'm getting my notes that pop up at me. These are notes to accounting. When I'm ready to invoice an order, I just verify the quantities. If we short ship them, it will take that into consideration. I can just type in a different number, but I'm going to say OK. So all the quantities are the same. And then I would simply say these are the default terms for this customer. And I would say mark as invoiced. Once I invoice it, it's now in my receivables. It's now in my accounting receivables department if they haven't paid for it yet. So that's kind of the flow from order entry all the way through to accounting. But the key thing that you need to know is you're not having to rekey information. You're not having to enter information multiple times. And you and all of your employees have access to the information that they need. Let me show you if I log in as a different person. I'm going to log out. And now I'm going to log in as Eddie. So I'm a different person. I'm logging in as Eddie. And when I log in as Eddie, I'm going to have access to less functionality. Well, actually, I can see Eddie's has everything turned on. So let me try someone else. Okay, so when I log in as Tony, let me zoom in a little bit for you here. When I log in as Tony, notice that Tony only has access to certain things. He does not have access to invoicing, inventory, and analysis and utilities. So I can keep Tony, I can limit him to what I want him to see. The same is true if we go to orders in progress. Now, why aren't we seeing any orders in progress? That's weird, because when I was logged in as the owner of the company, you saw plenty of orders in progress. Well, the reason why is because we have Tony's settings as such. Tony can only see his orders in the system, and right now he doesn't have any orders. He's not a very productive salesperson, apparently. So if he did have orders, he would see them in here. So we've limited Tony to only see his sales orders in the system, and we only allow him to have access to certain departments. So I'm not going to get into the details of how you'd set all that up, but there are a lot of controls that you can have over which employees see which information in the system. Even our little toolbars down here are different. These little toolbars. Okay, let's log back out. I'm going to log back in as my administrator. One other thing I wanted to point out with OnSite is that it's as much of a communication tool as it is for accounting or anything else. And when you're custom manufacturing on short time frames, you know that communication and what's going on in a sales order is very important. So let's look at some of the tools that we have on that. Let's go back to our orders in progress. Let's go back down to our Special Olympics order. One thing you'll notice that you have a message. It says new messages. Well, what is that? That is what we call internal messaging. And it's very, it's an analogy to email, but it's not email. This is not for external communication with customers. This is for internal communication on an order. And the beauty of this is that when you add a message, it is actually linked to the order. So for example, I'm going to click on new message. Now it's supposed to put this order number in here. There's some sort of glitch in this demo system. You wouldn't have to type that in. So you'd see here, order, Special Olympics, because we were on that order and we started a message. Now, who's that message going to? I can send it to multiple people, or I can send it to a single person. I'm going to send this to Pat, who's my artist. And I'm going to say, regarding artwork. So that's very, again, analogous very much to an email. Pat, see enclosed from the customer. So let's just say the customer had sent me some artwork and I want to send it to Pat. I'm not going to send it via regular email. I'm going to send it via this internal message. I'm going to go to attachments. I'm going to add an attachment. Here's the artwork. So that's the original file that I'm sending to Pat that the customer provided to me. And now I'm going to go ahead and send this message. Now, the reason why I do it through the internal messaging system as opposed to email is that message is now stored and linked to the order. So if we ever get down the road and there's some question, there's a problem on the order, there's something that didn't go right, something was messed up, whatever the situation is, I have communication notes. If I go to notes and messages, I'll see here's the message I sent to Pat. Here is the message that Pat received, but he hasn't read it yet because it's bold and shows as being unopened. So I kind of have a history of our internal communications on this order, and that's what internal messaging is used for. If I've got a message, I'll see anywhere I'm in the system down here on this little bar, I'll see that I have a message waiting for me that I need to look at. So that's messages. Another thing that we have is activities. You can see it here, but you can also see it from the customer tab. If I go to customer and activity, and activities can be many different things. They can be a future scheduled event. They can be a note on something. It can be an email I sent out or an email that came in. It can be a lot of different things. But the purpose of activities is to record all of our external communications with customers. Again, for a historical record of what went on in that order. So let's say the customer sent me an email and the email said, hey, I want to make some changes to the order. I would go to my email package, I would copy it, and then I'd paste it as an email. So I'd go in here, I would change this to an email IC, which means incoming, and I would simply paste the customer's email in here. I'm just going to type in pasted email, but you get the idea. So now when I click on done, I can see I will forever have a record of that's the email that came in from the customer. Again, these could be future events. So another thing that this is useful for is, let's say I wanted to add a reminder, a callback, or a follow-up. You can make these whatever you want. By the way, you can call these whatever you want. So let's see, follow up with customer to make sure order went well. Now I'm going to schedule this. We're not even delivering this order till mid-June, let's just say. So I'm going to schedule this for maybe a week after that. So on the 22nd of June, I want to contact this customer back. It's for me. It's going to appear on my calendar. And I have a record of it in the system. So I have a record of it in the system, and it's also going to appear on my activity calendar that I need to call this person. The third spot where you can do a lot of communication is on the notes. I kind of showed you that already during order entry. Notes is where we can put notes to different departments about whatever we want. And these notes are going to appear on forms. And they're also going to appear, again, pop up on screens like I showed you. So you have those three communication tools, and you're going to use a combination of them to make sure that you know what's going on and that all your staff knows what's going on with every order. Now you can also see we have other functionality in the software. I'm not going to cover a ton of that today, but we do have a whole CRM module, customer or contact resource management. So marketing, we call it marketing. It's just a whole marketing section. So you have a whole marketing section where you can manage your prospects. These are people who are not customers yet, and you're selling to them. So we have a whole system for managing that. We have our customers area where you manage all your customers. We have our products area where you manage all the products that you sell to your customers. And these products can be downloaded from the major vendors. So whether it's Sanmar or Alpha Broder or whoever the vendor is, we have all those on our website. We have all their pricing on our website. You can download them into the system. When they update their pricing, we get the files and we update them and put them into OnSite format so that you don't have to format them yourselves. We also have the designs area of our section of our system, and this is where your artists would do all their design management. So for example, if I look at active designs, I can see all the design information. If I click on thumbnails, I see a thumbnail image of each of these designs if they're in there. Okay, so what's the result of all this? Well, the result of all this is 60 days after implementing OnSite. So you get your system, you install it. 60 days after you go live with it. So you're working on procedures, your employees are getting trained with it. You need a little burn-in time to learn all this, but 60 days after implementing OnSite, this is what we're seeing with our customers. that they're entering orders once in the system, and that information is instantly available to all the other departments. Everybody knows what's going on. That's a huge time saver because you're not doing double and triple data entry, and it's very easy for customer service representatives or other staff to find out what's going on with an order. Your systems are all also fully integrated with shipping, as I mentioned before. So that means that you're not having to rekey or retype information into, say, for example, your UPS system. You type in the order number in UPS, it sucks the shipping information out of OnSite. Again, saving on time and less errors. Also, this is a two-way integration with UPS and these other companies. So package tracking information nightly, your nightly batch goes out to UPS. That package tracking information is then populated into OnSite. So the next day, if a customer calls and say, hey, I didn't get my package, your customer service rep doesn't have to go out to the shipping area to get the package tracking information. They can get that right from their OnSite system. As I showed you, OnSite is also has accounting built in, so you don't have to worry about entering data into QuickBooks or maintaining two different systems. It's all maintained within OnSite. You can email the invoice to your customer, or you can send them in the mail. So getting invoice to customers fast means you get paid faster. The end result, lower labor costs for your business. It reduces the time it takes to produce and deliver orders, which is what you're doing most of the day, is producing orders. You're keeping your customers happy because there's reduced errors and there's clear communication with your customer. As I said, real-time communication between departments, employees are happier, able to do their jobs better. As a business owner, you can get fast business analytics. So for example, let me just flip back over here to OnSite. If I go to my analysis section, it's very easy, and there's all kinds of different types of analysis you can get. So I'm doing sales analysis, and let's say I look at this month, and this is all my sales for this month. And I can sort by order type, and I can go to this analysis summary, and I quickly get a snapshot of how many orders and how many sales we have by embellishment type for that particular month. So very quickly, and of course I can print this as exports, as reports. I can print it, I can export it to Excel, or I can just view it on the screen. So very quickly you can get quick snapshots of what's going on in an order. And then the best part of this is you're able to delegate, as a business owner, you're able to delegate more things to more people, and maybe that means you can even take a vacation sometime. So if you're very busy right now, you're just so busy processing orders you don't know what to do, you can't focus on your business, you can't take vacation. OnSite is going to solve a lot of that for you. That's kind of it for my stock presentation. I'll tell you a little bit about our company, and I'll tell you about, if you'd like to get a more detailed evaluation, how to do that. If you have any questions, now's the time to ask them, because I'm almost done here, and then I will answer questions. Shopworks, the company, is not generic software. I used to own a screen printing and embroidery and promotional products business. That's how Shopworks was originally formed, and OnSite, our software, is specifically for this industry. So that, what does that mean? Who is our industry? Well, our industry is screen printers, embroiderers, promotional products distributors, promotional products manufacturers, digital printers, awards and recognition companies. Essentially, if you put a logo on something and resell it, our software is going to work great for you. In fact, it's pretty flexible software. So just so you know, Shopworks, the company, runs on the same OnSite software that we sell our customers. So we do all of our order entry, purchasing, accounting in the same software we sell you guys. So we actually, this says almost 1,000 installations since 1998. We're over 1,000. We're actually almost up to 1,100. So 1,100 companies have purchased and installed OnSite in the last 20 years. And those businesses typically range in the volume of total monthly yearly volume of 250 to 25 million in annual sales. We have customers who are very small. They're single user systems. We have other customers that are 50 users or 75 users, bigger shops. So the good part about that is if you're a small guy, your OnSite software will grow with you as you grow your business. And if you're a big guy, if you're a bigger company, then the software will work for you as well. So if you'd like to evaluate on-site, if you want to get more detailed, if you want somebody to say, hey, let me show you how to customize this for your business, we can answer questions. All you do is you go to our website, shopworks.com with an X. Actually, either spelling will get you there. Well, if you go to the website and you'll see request evaluation, all you do is click on that button and it'll be a little form. We can schedule a evaluation for whenever you like. That's convenient for you. It only takes 45 minutes to an hour to get it started, and we'll be able to answer any questions and then also tell you about our solution. Also on our website, you can watch videos. So if you go to watch on-site video, there's some more information about on-site there. And there's also, if you go down here to the different types of companies, you can learn more, click around, you'll find more videos and things on the site. Okay, that is it for my presentation. I see a question here. So I only see one question. So if anybody else has any questions, again, now's the time to ask them. This question is for Dave, from Dave, and the question is, I'm on your website. I see there aren't any training classes currently scheduled. Do you have any information when classes will be offered? So Dave, our training classes are here in South Florida. We have 3 different types of training you can do. We do online training, which is constantly going on. That's for new customers or existing customers. So we constantly are doing online training. The second option we have is our classes here in South Florida. And those are basically run when we have new customer demand. So what happens is we onboard new customers. Most of them do online training, but some of them say, hey, we'd like to come to a classroom. And when we get a couple of those, that's when we actually schedule a class. We do not have any classes scheduled now, but when we do, we will send out an email to everyone to let them know, hey, we have a class scheduled, and this is when it is, type thing. The other option that we have for training is we can always send somebody to your place of business to train you. Of course, that's the most expensive of the 3, but it is an option nonetheless for people who would like that. Okay. Another question is from Tim. Is there a way to open more than one tab at a time? That's a good question. There's not a way to open more than one tab at a time, but what you can do, let me just show you something. If I go to orders in progress, I'm going to bring up any order here. Let's say, yeah, this happens when we're connected on the go to meeting. So let's go ahead and bring up any order that we have here. I guess it doesn't matter. So I'm on an order, and let's say I'm looking at line items. And then let's say I'm a multitasker. I'm doing a lot of different things. So now I'm in accounting, and I'm looking at my bank balances. But as I'm looking at my bank balances, I get a call from a customer. Let's say I'm looking at a particular check. I'm trying to do something. A customer calls me. They have a question about their order. If I go over to sales, it remembers where I am in each of these sections. So can you put the windows side by side? No, you can't. But each of these areas and these sub areas remembers where you are during that session. So while I'm logged in, I'm on the sales order. If I go back to accounting, it remembers where I was in accounting. If I was in designs, it remembers where I was in designs. So it remembers where you are in each of these different departments, if you will, but it does not, you cannot have separate windows side by side. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, I don't see any more questions coming in. So that either means I did a very good presentation today or it was terrible. I'm not sure which. But I want to thank you for your time today. We will have more webinars in the future. A recording of this one will be posted on YouTube if you want to watch it again. And again, but really the best way to evaluate on-site, if you're serious about it, if you think it's something you're interested in, is to contact us on our website. We will set up a one-on-one. It's not a high pressure thing. It's a lot of us showing you how things work and discussing your business with you. And we'll see if it's a good fit or not. And that's basically how we work. So thanks again for your time, and everyone have a great rest of your week.